The Public Affairs Department of WALA Fox 10 presents your Social Security Report.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everybody. And I hope you let me in. Do you realize we are starting a brand new month? Now, it's not quite the last part of the year, but it's getting very, very close. And this is a month which, well, I'm going to put it this way. It will surprise many to learn that this month is very crucial as far as that COLA, the cost of living adjustment, is concerned. And here's why. For July and August, well, let's start all over and put it this way. As you well know, I'm sure, that the COLA is determined by the cost of living in July, August, and September of this year compared with July, August, and September of last year. And whatever the difference is, that is what the COLA is going to be. Now, it never goes down. It always goes up. If it didn't go up, then it would just remain as it was. Last year, it was, well, for this year, it was 2.4%. And this year, experts are already saying it's going to be 3% or a little over. Well, I'd say that depends. That depends on this very month of September. And you know why? Because it depends on how much people are going to spend in this month of September and whether or not prices are going to go up. Now, if they remain the same, then that's fine. The same as July and August. But if they go down, it could pull the COLA down just slightly. If they go up, they pull the COLA up just slightly. So that's why I say that September is a very crucial month. This year at least, it's a very crucial month for that COLA. Now, it'll be about the last part of October before we know exactly what the COLA is going to be, but I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to say it'll be 2.9%. I may be a little conservative there, but I'd rather be on that side than on the other side. 2.9% is my prediction. And by the way, this COLA, you know, doesn't apply only to people drawing Social Security benefits. It applies to those drawing civil service benefits, civil service retirement, for the military drawing their retirement, for many drawing different types of retirement from their employers in private industry. And it also has an effect on many of the wage contracts. So COLA is not only for Social Security. I've heard some people say, why in the world are those Social Security people get this break and nobody else does? Well, they just didn't know what they're talking about, because COLA does apply to many others besides those drawing Social Security benefits. So let's look back and look forward and see just exactly what COLA is going to mean to us this year. So let's start at some of those questions that came in. This good gentleman said, I've often heard you say on Fox 10 that SSI, Supplemental Security Income, has nothing to do with Social Security. There's not one dime of it that comes out of the Social Security funds. I said, yes, that is correct. Well, he said, well, why in the world do they call it security, Supplemental Security Income? And why do you go to the Social Security office to do your business with it? Well, the reason that you go to the Social Security office to do your business with it is that Congress said, we're not going to set up a separate bureaucracy. We're going to let the Social Security offices handle it, because they have 700 and some odd offices all over the country. And give them a few more employees, and they did give a few more employees, and they handle the Supplemental Security Income. And why is it called security? Well, that's just the name that Congress put to it. I suppose they thought it made it sound a little easier, a little better to call it Supplemental Security Income, but not one dime of it ever comes out of the Social Security funds. But the clock on the wall says you've got to come out of your talk for a little while, so will you excuse me? And I'll be right back in just a few moments.
If you have questions or need assistance from the Social Security Office and are a resident of the Mobile area, please write to the Social Security Administration, Mobile District Office, 9 St. Emmanuel Street, Mobile, Alabama, 36606, or call 334-441-6165. If you have questions or need assistance from the Social Security Office and are a resident of Jackson, Alabama, please write to the Social Security Administration, 150 College Avenue, Jackson, Alabama, 36545, or call 334-246-6018.
Thank you for letting me back in again. This good lady had, I think, a very interesting and a very logical question. She said, isn't the Veterans Administration and Social Security both part of the United States government? I said, yes, as far as I know. I've never heard it said otherwise. She said, well, how is this? My brother is drawing a pension, disability pension, from the VA. But when he went to the Social Security office and put in for disability benefits under Social Security, they said he didn't meet the requirements to draw Social Security disability benefits. Now, how in the world can two government agencies differ like that? One says you're disabled. The other says, no, you're not disabled. Well, I told them, let me make a little correction. They didn't say you're not disabled. They said you're not disabled enough to draw Social Security's disability benefits. It is true that both of those are parts of the United States government. But you know, when Congress passes a law for the Veterans Administration, it's going to be entirely separate from one they're going to pass for the Social Security Administration. Each one stands on its own base. When they passed the Social Security disability law, they said this is going to be possibly the strictest disability law on the books. And the reason is that it can apply to so many, many persons and can be so subject to fraud. So we have to be very, very careful with it. And besides, you know, the law says that you must be totally unable to engage in any substantial, gainful employment to any disability and to any appreciable extent. And that way you meet the requirement of total disability. And also, the law says that the doctor's prognosis must be that you are not going to show any appreciable change for the better for the next 12 months. So it is possibly much stricter than any of the other disability programs. But the fact that the VA says, yes, you can draw from us, doesn't necessarily mean that Social Security has to drop right in line and say, well, you have to draw from us too, because they have their own law that they have to go by. This is a question that comes up ever so often, and I think it's very interesting. This good lady says, I'm having to work a little longer now because we're just rushed with all of the work that we have coming in, and I'm not getting home until about 6 o'clock. So I've asked my neighbor to allow the daughter to come over and take care of the children. They come home from school by 3 o'clock. So there are 3 hours there that they wouldn't have any adult supervision. So I'm having the daughter to come over and take care of the children for those 3 hours, and I'm paying her. Now, I don't know whether or not I have to pay Social Security, all that. I've talked to a couple of people, and I get different opinions. My neighbor says, no, you don't have to do anything about Social Security. But someone at the office says, oh, yes, you do. You have to make a Social Security report on the wages that you're paying this young lady. Now, which is correct? Well, the law says that if they're under the age of 18, unless that's their only means of making a living, then you don't have to make any Social Security report whatsoever on them. So you can forget about any requirement that you have to make a Social Security report on this, because it's obvious that she doesn't have to have this money to make a living. It's something extra to come in for her. And this question came up. This good gentleman said, I'm going to have my mother to come and live with us because she can't any longer take care of things. But she's worried. She says, I don't want anything to happen to my Social Security. I have a friend, a very good friend, who went to live with a son, and she lost some of what she was drawing. Well, I called that family and asked them about it, and they said, oh no, it wasn't Social Security, it was that SSI. Because, you know, with the SSI, you can have a change in the amount coming in if there is a change in your living arrangements, because it is a federal welfare program. Social Security doesn't care where you're living. It doesn't care how much income or assets you have, unless you're working. When you're under the age of 65 and you're working, you go over the earnings ceiling. So she's perfectly free to go and live with her son. It's not going to make one bit of difference in the amount of the Social Security that she's going to be drawing. And this good lady said, my sister and I are twins, which means, of course, that we're the same age. And yet, she is paying less for her Medicare than I am. I'm paying 10% more than she is in the premium. Why can that be? Well, the reason is I found out going into it that this sister who is paying 10% more waited another full year beyond the time that she had reached the age of 65 and could file for enrollment in the Part B, the doctor bill part of Medicare. And that 1 year, a little over 1 year that she paid, that she lost, is costing a 10% penalty, and that's going to be with her the rest of her life. So please, when you reach the age of 65, don't put it off. Go ahead and enroll. Clock on the wall, though, says we're rolling you right out for a few moments, so if you'll excuse me, I'll be right back.
If you have questions or need assistance from the Social Security Office and are a resident of the Eastern Shore, please write to the Social Security Administration, 368 Commercial Park Drive, Fairhope, Alabama, 36532, or call 334-928-2504. If you have questions or need assistance from the Social Security Office and are a resident of Andalusia, Alabama, please write to the Social Security Administration, 408 South 3 Notch, Andalusia, Alabama, 36420, or call 334-222-9701.
I'm back again. Thank you very much for letting me back. I don't believe I've ever heard this question raised before. It's very interesting. This gentleman said, my company had a merger which they really hadn't expected to go through with, but the boss said it was so profitable that he just couldn't turn it down. But because it was sprung on us so quickly, he is going to pay us a pension. It's not a big one by any means, but he's going to pay us a pension for the next 3 years. He's made arrangements for that with an insurance company. And I'm wondering, I'll be reaching the age where I can draw Social Security. I'm wondering, is that little pension going to interfere with my Social Security? The answer is absolutely not, because that's something separate, entirely separate. He was working at a job covered by Social Security, and the pension coming from that job is absolutely free and clear for any trouble that he might give him in the Social Security. So with a free mind, he can take that pension for those next 3 years. And this question came up. This good gentleman said, I was in the hospital for, well, it was a good little while, really, he said, and I know there's going to be quite a bill, but I was under Medicare. But is there anything that I have to do about that claim? Does the hospital take care of the claim? Do I have to sign any papers? They never came to me about signing any papers when I left. So I'm wondering, are they going to come to me later and hit me with a 2x4 when I'm not expecting it? The answer is no. The hospital takes care of the claim because he went in under Medicare and they filed the claim for reimbursement from Medicare. Now, of course, he did have to pay, $700 and some odd dollars, $768, I believe it is right now, that he had to pay going in, but that's what he pays, and that's it. The rest of it is between the hospital and Medicare. So he doesn't have to worry one bit about that. He's out of it completely. And this good lady wanted to know, does a widow have to have a child under the age of 18 to be able to draw Social Security benefits when the husband dies? The answer is no, not under the age of 18, but under the age of 16. Now, the child would continue to draw up to the age of 18 or up to the age of 19 or graduation from high school, whichever came first. But the mother's benefits would stop when the child reaches the age of 16 unless the child is totally disabled. And I found sometimes that was overlooked when a claim was filed, that the mother didn't bring out the fact that there's possibility that this child is totally disabled. And if she files a claim on the child's behalf as a totally disabled child, then the child would continue to draw the benefits regardless of the age, and she would continue to draw also. So please bear that in mind if that ever comes up in any case that you're familiar with. And this good lady said, I was really in very straitened circumstances when my husband died, and I took the widow's benefit at, well, it was a little over 60. I was just about 61. Well, now I'm reaching the age of 65, and I'm wondering, is there anything that I have to do, or does it just keep right on? Well, it just keeps right on. There isn't anything she has to do. Now, as far as Medicare is concerned, she doesn't have to do anything there either, because she's going to be automatically enrolled for Medicare because she's already on the benefit rolls. If by any chance she doesn't want the doctor bill part, which carries a premium, all she has to do is send the card back and say, I don't want the doctor bill part. You don't have to give any reason, just say, I don't want the doctor bill part. The hospital part, of course, doesn't carry any premium. And it would be foolish to throw that away, because that is very good coverage. Believe me, I know from past experience for myself. But the doctor bill part does carry a premium of $45.50 a month this year. We don't know what it's going to be next year. Some say it's going to go up. Some say it's going to be the same. So you take your pick. Personally, I think it is going to go up, at least moderately. But that's what you have to pay for the doctor bill part. Any time that you're enrolled for Medicare automatically because you're already on the benefit rolls and you don't want the doctor bill part, all you have to do is send the card back and say, I don't want the doctor bill part. And this good gentleman was confused about this, and I can understand why. He said, my kid brother was killed in a very tragic automobile accident. And he had worked only a little over 3 years. And he left a widow and 2 little children. And much to my surprise, when he went to the Social Security office, they signed, rather the widow went to the Social Security office. She was signed up for benefits to come to her and for the children. Now, how could that be with just 3 years? Well, it's a very special provision in the law that says that if you have a certain number of quarters of coverage within the last 3 years, then you can leave death benefits for the family. So he was very fortunate in that regard that he had gotten in at least that much weight, and he did meet that requirement. But the clock on the wall says you're not meeting the requirement if you don't leave. So if you'll excuse me for a few moments, I'll be right back.
If you have questions or need assistance from the Social Security Office and are a resident of the Pensacola area, please write to the Social Security Administration, Pensacola District Office, 1011 West Garden Street, Pensacola, Florida, 32501, or call 850-434-5488. If you have questions or need assistance from the Social Security Office and are a resident of the Pascagoula, Mississippi area, please write to the Social Security Administration, 1225 Jackson Avenue, Pascagoula, Mississippi, 39567, or call 228-762-3370.
For the last roundup, thank you for letting me come in. Just a little while ago, I was so busy watching that clock to be sure that I wouldn't break the rules here at the station that I couldn't quite get it out to tell you that the case that we were talking about the young fellow who had worked just around 3 years and left death benefits for the family, and those death benefits are going to continue until those children reach the age of 18. That is called a current connection with Social Security. And the law says that if you have worked as much as a year and a half out of the last 3 years in a Social Security covered job, then you can leave death benefits to the family. And believe me, I have seen it come in as a real blessing to some families. This is a question that came up the other day that I thought was a little bit unusual. The good lady wanted to know, was Social Security ever called an old age pension? The answer is no, it never was. It never was intended to be an old age pension. It was supposed to be a base on which each person was supposed to add for their old age pension. But it itself was not considered an old age pension. As a matter of fact, we were told, we in the early days, way back in 1936, were told, whenever you're talking to people about Social Security, be sure to emphasize that it is not a pension. It is not going to take care of everything. It's just a base on which they can add whatever their earnings will be able, or their savings will be able to add. And then this one will come up ever so often. Is there any connection between the Social Security and unemployment compensation? Well, unemployment compensation is part of Social Security. In fact, it's Title III of the Social Security law. You know, there were 11 titles of the Social Security law. The first one was for old age benefits for, but I guess you could have called it old age assistance for people who were really in need. And then Title II is the one that we're all familiar with, the old age benefits, to which was added death benefits, and then disability, and then Medicare. Then Medicare was taken out and given to a different concern. But the clock on the wall says you got to go. Until next week at the same time, God bless you all, every last one of you, and goodbye.
This has been your Social Security Report, a public affairs presentation of WALA Fox 10. This program has been pre-recorded broadcast at this time. If you have questions or need assistance from the Social Security Office, please call 1-800-772-1213.